CJ here. I am here today with Aaron Z, one of the top agents here. Excited to learn more about him and his story from growing up to getting here. And I will start with this. I call you Aaron Z because I don't want to mispronounce your last name. So how do you say it?
Zehnphennig.
Zehnphennig. What is the most common mispronunciation that you hear?
Zehnphenin.
Zehnphennig.
Everyone thinks it's ing. It's not.
Okay. My last name is Castellanos, and people put the J before the L's. I'm like, it's clearly not Castellanos, but that's fine. That happens, so I feel your pain there. Excited to hear more about you, and let's start with, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Rochester, Minnesota.
Rochester, Minnesota. Born and raised. That's kind
Born
of.
and raised, yep.
Went to high school there?
Yep, went to Rochester Mayo, then graduated in 09, went up to Duluth for business management, graduated there in what was 2012 or 13, I can't remember, but.
Okay. So Rochester, tell, for those that aren't familiar with Rochester, what is Rochester known for?
The Mayo Clinic, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, you go there if you're sick or dying.
Okay, so that's kind of growing up, that's what you knew, like, hey, this is where people are coming.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like growing up, I would go to the Mayo Clinic and you don't realize how nice of a place it is until you go to a different hospital somewhere else. And
yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, I was really blessed.
That was just like the city's hospital.
Yeah, that was just the city's local hospital. So that's where you went, and didn't really realize until I was like 22 up in Duluth and had to go to the hospital there.
Yeah.
And realize how blessed I was to have the Mayo Clinic in my backyard. So,
and the fact that people are flying from all over the world to go to that's crazy. Yeah. So Rochester, let's kind of just start there though. Growing up, what kind of things were you involved in, interested in?
I love sports. I was football, basketball, and golf in high school. Okay. Golf was probably my favorite. You got to miss the most school. So
here you go. Had nothing to do with the actual sport. You just got out of school.
No, I still love golf. Golf was my favorite. Yeah.
Okay. Family growing up?
I got an older sister, mom and dad.
Okay. And were you and your sister close in age, or?
She's 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
We were fairly close growing up. She moved to Oregon for college.
Okay.
Never came back. So.
Got it. And so she's 5 years older. So you weren't in school at the same time.
You're right.
So exactly. And probably when she left, you felt like an only child.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Which was nice though, because she was even though she was older, she was more like the baby of the family.
Okay.
Which was kind of funny because my mom knew I could handle myself.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Okay, you're okay. Go do your thing," and would baby my sister.
Okay. So growing up in Rochester, what was your first job?
I was a paper boy at age 12.
Get out. Like on the bike, did you have a little basket?
I used rollerblades.
What? We need a picture of that. So
I don't think we have.
If we can find one, we're gonna add that. Paperboy.
Yep.
And then what was your first kind of job
after
outside of that?
I was a paperboy for 2 years, and then I got a job as a bag boy when I was 14 at the local Hy-Vee.
Okay.
Actually.
And then how long did you do that for?
Oh, I was a bag boy, then stock boy or whatever until I think I was like from 14 to 17, and then I got a job at Panera.
Okay. And then you would go off to college, go to Duluth?
Yep.
And what did you major in? You said business?
Business management.
And when you were going to college, was that the first major, or how
That's
often
funny
did
you
you
ask.
switch?
I think I had 7 majors.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Okay, well, let's see if you can remember what you started.
Journalism.
Okay.
Loved writing. Second was psychology.
Okay.
No, not psychology, philosophy.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And then it was political science. Still, same thing.
Yep.
I didn't really know what I was doing back then. So political science. Then I did IT. Then there was one other, so maybe only 6. There was one other one I can't remember, and then ended in business management.
Okay. And was this how in the span of the 4 years? So how often were you just like?
That's why I think I was 2013. It took me an extra year to graduate.
Okay,
because of all the jumping around.
All right.
Most of them when you're taking them, it's part of that pie. No matter what your major is, you have to fill the pie.
Yeah.
So I kind of figured it out enough where.
Let's talk more about that, because I feel like you were kind of searching for what you were interested in. Want to be a lawyer, you like writing. So talk about that process of like discovering, hey, yes, oh nope, not anymore. I'm not interested in that. So I feel like that people in the search oftentimes find the right thing and kind of stick with it. But talk about the switching of the majors? Where do you see that coming from now?
Well, I switched out of journalism because I was like, I don't think you can make much money doing this anymore.
Okay.
Like, so I switched out of that honestly for that reason. But
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a lawyer because I like to argue,
Okay.
and my grandpa was a lawyer, so
Yeah.
he always told me that I was a very good arguer and should pursue that. And I really wish I would have stuck with that, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. But and then IT, because just I didn't really necessarily like IT a whole lot, but just
Yeah.
job security, just like that's
Okay.
where the future's going, IT and stuff. And honestly, I ended with business management because I really never did find what I wanted.
Okay.
Right, and that was just kind of like default.
That's where all the credits were leading you.
It was just like,
all my
okay,
credits
I
lead
guess
me
I'll
to
just take
this
this one,
major.
'cause
Like,
I
how
can-
can I get out of here the quickest?
Yeah,
Like, I guess it's that.
pretty much. That's kind of what happened.
Which, a lot of times, I would say more often than not, people end up finishing college and realizing their purpose or calling post. And so, I hope you don't feel like a failure in that. Because really, if you didn't learn from that journey, then that's really the loss.
Right.
So it's not even the major. It's like, what did you learn from that search? So after Duluth, you major business administration, and then what do you do? Oh, were you working in college too?
Yes, I did a couple different things. I was a dishwasher at a local restaurant.
Yeah.
One that probably relates that I learned probably the most from was I was a telemarketer.
Okay.
That was pretty interesting. I remember the first week I had 0 sales.
Yeah.
And then finally I took the script they gave us,
Yeah.
took it home over the weekend.
Yep.
I rewrote it for my own way, and
Okay.
then practiced in front of the mirror and da.
Yeah.
The following Monday, I broke the record for sales that day
Get out of here.
after having 0 the first week. And then,
What were you selling?
oh man, it was like, getting people to sign up for college and enroll for like these online classes, like things.
Yeah. Do you remember in rewriting the script, like what was like oh, I'm gonna say this and this is gonna work?
It was over 10
Yeah,
years. It
no,
was
no,
about
I
10
just-
years ago now. I don't exactly remember what it was, but just making it mine. You know what I mean? Because everyone else sounds like a robot, and I just put my little
And you
twist
saw the
on it.
fruit of making it yours.
Yeah.
That's cool. I
100%.
mean,
It
I
was-
think that's awesome
Yeah.
story of like, hey, I'm doing
Practice.
this job, and then I choose to make it me, and look what happens. So you finish up in Duluth. What happens after that?
Another cool job I had in
Yeah.
Duluth is I opened up a restaurant inside of I used to frequent a pool hall up there.
Yeah.
And they had an empty kitchen.
Yep.
So me and my buddy approached the owner and was like, hey, can we rent out this kitchen? So we ran a kitchen too for a year, which was
Get out. Like,
really fun. Actually.
Did you cook before, or what
No.
So what did you do? Like go to Sam's Club and like get some hot dogs?
Yes. Not hot dogs, but we went to the local bakery and got fresh buns and stuff, and then went to the local butcher and got fresh, never frozen meat. And,
What was the name of this establishment?
well, the Horseshoe was the place, and we were the Horseshoe Grill.
The Horseshoe Grill.
Yeah.
Look at this. 2 college kids.
Yeah.
2 college kids like, hey,
He was a
Hey.
fry cook at a
your
nice
other buddy?
restaurant. Yeah. He was a line cook at a fancy restaurant, and me and him were playing pool all the time
Yeah.
together, which was not a good choice.
I love
but-
hearing like the initiative. Like, hey, I'm gonna write my own script. I'm gonna do this. Hey, there's an empty space. I'm gonna go to Sam's Club and get some food, and we're gonna make some money.
And we made good food too. We didn't make a lot of money. We paid,
Yeah.
we paid the rent though, so that's all that
Okay.
mattered.
That's fun
You
though.
know, yeah.
So
it
that's
was fun.
part of the experience. So
Exactly.
you move out of Duluth, you got to shut down the Horseshoe Grill.
Yep.
Is it still open?
No,
tell me
no,
it's
no,
still
no.
open. They were
No.
like, no, now it's booming. It's like the best place in Duluth. Send me the logo. I want to make a T-shirt with it. Just
I
the
still have the
Horseshoe.
menu
You have the
actually.
menu.
I
Okay.
saved the menu because
Alright.
it was a fun time.
That's
in my
that's a
life,
cool story. Yeah. What do you do after Duluth?
I got a job at the Sears DMV in St. Paul.
The Sears DMV in St. Paul.
Yep.
What is that?
It's
Was it just at the Sears building?
correct.
Okay.
The-
I didn't know
The
Sears.
Sears
like I didn't know
DMV.
Sears had a DMV. I was
No.
like, what?
It was actually, so it's kind of a cool story. There's a guy from Rochester that I went to high school with. His dad, 20 years ago was at a DMV and was so angry with the way they were doing it. He wrote
Yeah.
a letter to the state of Minnesota
Yeah.
and was like, you guys are dumb. You should do it like this. The next week, they're like, here you go. You can do it. And now he owns like 10 privately owned DMVs, and each piece of paper that comes through, he makes $10.
That's
Another
awesome.
great example of
Yeah.
initiative and write your own script. Like this
Yeah.
guy had nothing to like. he was doing some business crap and wrote a letter to the city or the state,
Yeah.
and they were so impressed with his letter
Yeah.
that they gave him DMVs to run. And now he's a
And
millionaire and doesn't do anything. He's retired.
that's great. One of the things that I believe and I try to live into is that the greatest way to complain is to create.
Yeah.
And there are a lot
exactly.
of people who just complain and they don't do anything. But the fact is, like, he complained and they're like, okay, create it. He's like, I will.
And he did.
And
Yeah, he wrote
so,
out a little script like, this is what you should do,
yeah,
and this would be way more efficient. And you can tell if you go to his DMVs, they are
yeah.
way more efficient than any state-owned DMV, and it's really cool to see.
I'm gonna have to look it up because I'm like, I want to test this theory. I'm like, I'm gonna go here instead.
Yeah.
So you worked at the DMV. How long did you do that for?
Like a year and a half, almost 2 years. I
Okay.
became the dealer liaison.
Okay.
So I was doing all the car paperwork for the dealerships,
Yeah.
and that is actually where I got my next venture.
Yeah.
Is I met some local, they call them car jockeys, so they're small car dealers. They're not
Yeah.
big Chevys and Fords, but they're just
Yeah.
the locally owned ones.
Yep.
And I started renting car spaces at his lot and renting his dealer's license,
Yeah.
and became a self-employed car dealer.
On the side. So you're doing DMV and
I eventually left the DMV just to concentrate on
okay.
that.
All right. How long did you do that for?
About 3, almost 4 years.
So you're selling used cars. What part of town were you living in?
St. Paul.
St. Paul.
Right
And-
by Our Lady Guadalupe down there, and
Okay.
south of the river, just barely.
Okay.
Is
And
where I live.
how long? So you said 3 or 4 years you did that?
Mhm.
What was the next transition?
Oh, the next transition was I was kind of making bad choices in life, so I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna be a bartender. I'm here
Mm.
every day anyways. I might as well make some money
Yeah.
while I'm here.
Yeah.
Eventually, the car thing, the people I was working with were not people I wanted to associate with anymore.
Yeah.
I kind of was like, I didn't really believe in the things they were doing, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to be around that. So eventually, I just left there and kind of was lost and didn't know what to do next. So
Yeah.
I just got a job at the local La Fonda's in Egan. I got a
Okay.
job bartending there.
So how long, when you say you were kind of in that search trying to, how long was that season for you?
Oh, I don't know. Took me about 6 months to kind of phase out of. When I decided I didn't want to just sell cars anymore, I was kind of.
Yeah.
I would sell a few here and there to pay rent, right?
Yep.
And so I just to make money and da da
Yeah.
da. But it took probably about 6 months. So I was finally like, I'm done with this. And
Okay.
again, I don't, just out of lack of options, I guess, or
Yeah.
I was just lost. I was like, well, screw it. I'll go. I played in a pool league, and so I was at La Fonda's for pool league,
Yeah.
and I overheard the manager being like, "Oh, we need a bartender," and I'm like,
Yep.
"Here you go."
You're like, well, I'm already here.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah. How about we do that? And so I got that. And
So that was at the pool hall first.
first, I was at the pool hall at Shooters,
Okay.
and I did that for 6 months. But
Yep.
I was seeing. That's actually kind of how I wanted to become a bartender, just because I was working in the front desk at Shooters in
Mhm.
Burnsville,
Yep.
getting paid minimum wage to be a manager and a bouncer. I don't
Yeah.
know if you know much about Shooters, but it's open till 4 a.m. and
Yeah.
I'm like kicking.
I can
people out
only
with-
imagine what
Yeah,
happens at
exactly.
Shooters at 4 a.m.
Yeah, and so I'm doing that for minimum wage, and I'm seeing the waitresses walk out with $500 cash every night, and I'm like, I should probably do that. You
Yeah.
know?
So then you start bartending.
Bartending at La Fonda's in Egan. Yep.
Okay. How long did you do that for?
Oh, I think it was 2 years. And then the owner passed away, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And when his son took over, it was like, eh. And then the Yankee Tavern opened up down the street in Egan,
Okay.
literally down the street.
Yeah.
So I went and got a job bartending there.
Okay. And so how did you transition into what you're doing now?
So after I worked at Yankee Tavern in Egan for 3 years, eventually became the general manager or the assistant general manager.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing. Felt like I was making minimum wage, working 80 hours a week
Yeah.
because I'm salary at that point, which was a big mistake.
Yeah.
If you work in the restaurant business, don't do salary. COVID hit,
Okay.
got laid off. Back when I was selling cars, I always like wanted to do real estate.
hmm
I just, sales. I've always been a
Yeah,
salesman.
yeah.
Just always been a salesman. So when COVID hit, I'm literally driving home from being laid off.
Yeah.
And I hear the Chris Lindahl,
Like
"Hey!"
literally just got laid off. and then-
literally just got laid off. Being like,
Okay.
hey, sorry, we're letting you go. You're not fired, but until further notice, you
Yeah.
don't have a job. So I'm like, all right. And on my way home, I
Yeah.
heard the
commercial.
the scholarship commercial on the radio.
Okay. And they're like,
And I was like, why not? Let's do it.
So you got hooked up with the scholarship and you went through.
Next day, I sent the video to Megan and
Yeah.
got a call from her a few days later, had an interview, and
Okay.
took off.
So then this is the time where I think a lot of people were. I mean, COVID shuts everything down. A lot of people kind of dug a hole and kind of waited it out. But you're saying, hey, I'm gonna make a change, and you did the scholarship.
COVID was, I mean, that's horrible. I mean, it's bad to say, I guess, but I mean, for me personally,
Yeah.
that whole thing was the best thing that ever happened to me. It let me kind of evaluate my choices in
Yeah.
my life and let me make better decisions. And yeah,
I agree with you, and I think a lot of great things have happened from it. Not to negate just what has happened and the people that have lost lives in it. The good thing is, I think a lot of people, and if you haven't yet, had the question like, "What am I doing? What am I?
right,
What am I doing? Is it important? Do I really care about it?" So I think the reset for a lot of people globally was, okay, what is my life really about? And I think that's a good
exactly.
thing.
It's that time that I got alone to internalize and
Yeah,
think about things. You know what I mean? It
yeah,
wasn't the whole, obviously the pandemic is horrible, but that
yeah.
getting a break from working 80 hours and being able to like really assess what I'm doing. And like you said, is this what I want to do? And realize that it's not, was great.
And so you find yourself in this program, and did you enjoy the process? Talk more about going through the program, the scholarship program, and kind of getting started.
So yeah, I really like learning for the most part.
Hmm.
I enjoy it reading. We did CE shop back in the day. I think it's Kaplan now, but
Hmm.
the program we had was all just uh, PowerPoints.
Okay.
There was no interactive. I think the new one, my buddy's doing it right now. He said it's like a video of a guy.
Yeah.
When I was doing it, it's always just reading. So I just
Hmm.
read a ton, which was kind of nice because eventually, like a few weeks later, I had to go back to work
Yeah.
because we did the to go stuff, blah blah for restaurants. So
Yeah.
I was still working all
Okay.
day. So I'd go home and then do the classes all night, and
Yeah.
it's nice to just read. And yeah, no, I really enjoyed learning all the things, and the wannabe lawyer in me really likes the
Yeah.
analyzing analyzing the different rules and regulations and stuff like that. So that was really fun. It was kind of nerve wracking because COVID, because of COVID,
Yeah.
there were like no testings
Yeah.
that you could like sign up for in Minnesota.
Okay.
I had to drive to somewhere in Iowa that was like 12 hours away. And my
What?
thing was at 6 in the morning, my final test to get my actual license.
Yeah.
They let you do proxies for the section test, but the
Yeah. Yeah.
big one you still had to go do in person.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it online. So I drove like over 12 hours to Iowa
What?
for this test at 6 in the morning. And
Yeah.
then my training literally started like 2 days after that. So
Yeah.
like if I didn't pass it this time, I was SOL, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of nerve wracking, but
But you got through it.
I got through it.
All right, man. And so it's fun to hear that story, and I love that you got the right perspective. Like, hey, I lost my job, but I found a new direction, and you're doing really well in it. Talk about that first year of real estate. What was surprising? What was encouraging? When did you realize like, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and I'm successful, and I enjoy it.
Making the decision is super um, anxiety ridden, I guess. I
Yeah,
can't think of what I'm trying to say, but very nerve wracking.
yeah,
The whole switching over because you're doing research and being
yep,
like, okay, how long does it take realtors to actually start being successful, right?
yep,
And it's like, oh, the first year expect to only do 2 houses, 3 houses, 4 houses. The average person makes $30,000 a year the first year, da 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 da. And
yeah,
I'm just like, did I make the right decision? Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
god!
yeah,
I drove an old beat up Tahoe too,
yeah.
and then everyone's like, you can't drive that car. You gotta get a new car. So I went and got a new car before I started my job too. So I'm like, got this
Added
new car.
pressure.
Yeah, I'm just
Just
like,
add
oh
some
my
more pressure.
gosh. The first time that I kind of knew that I would like where the worry kind of shed a little bit was
Yeah,
in training
yep,
when they showed us the structure
hmm,
and how we get our leads and everything like that.
yeah.
And once I saw that Slack board and like while they brought it up on screen, like 15 leads came up and I was just
Yeah.
like, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
You're like,
perfect.
let's go.
Awesome. Let's do this.
You're like, give me the script. I'll make it my own. I'm gonna crush
Exactly.
this thing.
100%.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. My worry just shed away once I saw that. And I knew it would still take, like, hard work and time
Yeah.
funny thing is I was the last person in my training group to sell a house.
Okay.
So all those people out there that are worried, like, I was the last one. And
Say more, because we do have a lot of new people or people thinking about, like, what do you know now, kind of with your success, looking back to when you got started? Like, what do you wish someone would have told you, or what do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I know, like, I mean, dive right in. Don't be
Hmm.
worried. I know it's not everyone has the luxury of being able to. I mean, I quit my job 2 weeks after training and
Hmm.
just started. Just start taking leads. Just go, go, go. Just start doing it.
Yeah.
Learn it. You're gonna make mistakes. Don't worry about it. It's all about learning from your. Everyone makes mistakes always.
Yeah.
The failure comes from not learning from the mistake, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you're learning from that mistake, then it's not really a mistake.
Hmm.
That's how I kind of
Yeah.
see it, and that's um, what I wish I would have known now. Yeah. Find a great mentor
Yeah.
and not, there's different ways to skin the cat, right? Not
Hmm.
what may work for me might not work for you. And
Yeah.
what really, really helped me was finding a mentor that was very similar. Like my mentor was Amanda Rose, right?
Yeah.
She had her fiance lived down in Oklahoma. She didn't have kids. So like all she did was work.
Yeah.
I'm single. I don't have kids. All I do is work. So that
Yeah.
really worked well for
Yeah.
us where we could collaborate at 11 o'clock at night on
Yeah.
Zooms and da da da. Like, so I recommend finding a mentor that matches your style.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
So that support system, that someone that can help you out when you have those questions.
Yeah, always for sure. And it's like you said, it's about making it your own. Like
Yeah.
not you can't just replicate what someone else does because you're not them. You
Yeah.
have to make it your own little twist on your own style. Now, there are certain things that everyone can do that I would
Hmm.
recommend. Like one of the great advice that I took from read some ebooks. My favorite ebook was Art of Closing the Sale by Zig Ziglar
Okay.
and Sales EQ by
Hmm.
Jeb Blunt. I listened to those two books on audio
Yeah.
while I was driving around to appointments over and over and over again to
Yeah.
almost to a point where I could almost just recite them.
Yeah.
But one of the great things I learned from that first one was wake up at the same time every day. It doesn't have to be super early. It doesn't have to be, 6 a.m. every day. It doesn't have to be, but get your day going before 9 a.m. every single day and
Mhm.
keep to it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the greatest advice ever. And I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
I don't like waking up. But like when I started setting my goals to be like, there was, a couple months where I always woke up at 7 and just
Yeah.
did it. And like those months that I did that were my most successful months by
So getting that
far.
routine,
Routine,
and
100%.
that's a lot of times people make it way more complicated than, hey, accomplish something, make your bed in the morning. Then there you go. You have one thing accomplished, and it just, the momentum carries on. So I love that it's not, oh, I learned this in real estate training. Like, no, just wake up.
Wake up.
Just wake up
at the same time every
period.
day.
Like, oh, I
Like,
could have told you that. No, I love how practical that is. Just getting that routine and listening to those things while you're driving, and then so that you know them. You said today, what were you doing today earlier before the interview?
I had a closing with my buddy, and he's my good buddy from back in the day, so I was helping him move his furniture in.
So here, this is a question. I mean, we discussed this a little bit earlier, but I want to hear the full answer. Is it easier or harder to work with someone that you know, like your friend?
Oh man, it is such a loaded question and good question too, because I've helped a few buddies now, and
Yeah.
it's easier in the sense that they're your friends, and like it's not so much like going to work when you're going to work with them. It's
Yeah.
more so going to hang out. But where it's harder is sometimes I lose my professionalism, or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I don't, or like, oh, I'm gonna be 10 minutes late. No worries, they're my buddies.
Yeah.
I can be 10 minutes late. Where if that was a normal client, so to speak, I
Yeah.
would never be that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and
It's got its pros and cons.
exactly, it's definitely got its pros and cons. I definitely say pro at the end.
More, okay.
Yeah, you get to help your friend, and
Yeah.
um, the other thing though too is like this particular one too was probably one of the most difficult that I ever had. Like I've never had such an eventful
Yeah.
client where just disaster after disaster kept popping up, and we just had to keep putting fires out. And so
Yeah.
it was a long and hard fought win, but I felt, I don't know. Again, it's just weird because you feel like, I don't know. It's really hard to explain because I can't.
You don't want to
I'm
disclose
okay.
the details.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad. It was like the first one, had a foundation problem, so
Yeah.
we canceled after inspection, even though
Mhm.
he wanted to keep. I'm like, no, I'm not letting you buy this house.
Yeah.
And then the second one was another office. They're both, these are all office exclusives
Yeah.
too. And the other one was, it was contingent on the seller finding a home. They found a home, and then the agent who's no longer with us, the other agent who was messed up some stuff on that side. And
Yeah.
so we literally waited like 5 months for them. And then the day before closing, it all fell apart
Yeah.
because something on the other side of the transaction fell
Yeah.
apart. So it had nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
And then we just found another one, and the lender had given him a conventional approval, but she had missed something in his history. So we had to go back to FHA, and the house was not in FHA shape. So I had to like call the other agent and be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm really sorry, but I know you didn't want FHA, but that's what we got now. So had to do a lot of fixing stuff before the appraiser went
It
out.
sounds like, and
it was fun.
I feel like
It was fun.
it sounds like you're gifted in it too, but there's a lot of troubleshooting when you're not just
Oh, we're
the
not salesmen. We
Yeah.
are problem solvers. And that is how you got to look at it.
Okay. I
I'm
love
not here
that.
to, yeah, you're here to help. And you're here to, people come to you with a problem.
Yeah.
It is your duty, it is your job
To
to help them solve the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I consider myself. I'm not a salesman. I'm
Yeah.
here. Your problem is you don't have a house. Let's fix that problem.
No, I love that posture, and even in you saying that, it puts a bigger picture around the process. Now it's not just a transaction. Hey, you got money, let's find you a house. It's, hey, I'm here to support you, and let's solve your problem. So I think that there's a lot of wisdom that you've given us. Yeah, just think of is there anything else that you'd want other agents or people considering the real estate world, like what's something that you know now with the success that you've had, that you just want to pass on to people?
Everyone always asks like, "Oh, how do you do so money? How do you do so money?" It's not because I'm better at anything. It's just all about you got to. It's all about working hard. The
Yeah.
harder you work, the better you're gonna be. I don't do anything different or special.
Yeah.
I just do it more. I guess I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does, and I'm grateful that you told me part of your story, because it's not just working hard. I think one of the things that you didn't say, but I can hear and I've heard through your story, is not only are you working hard, you understand who you are. The fact is that like you rewrote that script using words that you'd want to say. You knew what you're good at and you put yourself into it. I think successful people don't just have success; they have peace when they look in the mirror. Successful people have confidence when they say, "Okay, that's one way to do it." Like you said, like, well, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. Like that's not for you. The key in that is you got to know you. Because if you don't, then you're just going to try to do what everyone else does because it brings success to them. And even in that, you can be successful and at the end of the day say, I still don't know who I am. And so I would say not only do I hear hard work in your story, I hear really confidence in who you are. And so that's something that we should pass on to people is, hey, figure out who you are and what you're good at and make it your own.
Yeah.
And that's what I heard from you today.
For sure. I like it.
Well, thanks for your time. Thank you for sharing what you did, and grateful for you and all the hard work you do. But I think we have a lot that we can share from the things you've shared with us.
Awesome. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap.